Okay, now I will tell you more about uh, um we have a new topic here, which is what more implement like more practical rather than the previous topics here, because before we were covering different approaches and methods to foreign language teaching, but here we'll what discuss cover the strategies for teaching different skills in language here. So today we'll start from strategies for reading. Yeah, of course, like you have overall idea how to teach reading, but I will just briefly tell you about some of the important issues, yeah, in teaching reading. Okay, let's start. So outline reasons for reading, different kinds of reading levels, skills, principles, sequences, more reading suggestions, some of the activities, yeah, that you can implement in your future teaching, encouraging students to read extensively. Okay, let's start. So reasons for reading, yeah, it can be for career, study purposes, or just for pleasure. Then for improving vocabulary, spelling, and writing, it is also useful for that, yeah. Then good model for writing. Then interesting topics and discussions might derive from readings, yeah. So from short text, for example, in textbooks, yeah, readings are used for various purposes, yeah. Then different kinds of reading. So we have extensive reading, which is out of the classroom reading, novels, magazines, newspaper, reading for your pleasure, yeah. But intensive reading, it is about reading in the classroom, which you have to read in the classroom, for example, books, articles, studying activities, and etc. So reading levels. So for example, based on the as teachers, you should be able to give appropriate reading text here for different level for students who has different levels, yeah, who have different levels. So authentic text might be difficult for beginners. For example, in these cases we use what simplified graded readers. Yeah, for example, let's say the novel, for example, novel of Charlotte Bronte. We have Jane Eyre, for example. Yeah, in fact, in it as an authentic book, it is really difficult for example, intermediate, even for intermediate level students. Yeah, so we can find what simplified, graded, adapted version of this book and give to our students. Yeah. So then reading skills, so scanning. Yeah. Students shouldn't read every word in the line. They should just look for example, details as phone number, name, or other ones. Then skimming, which is used to get a general idea, yeah. And another one is reading for detailed comprehension, yeah, when we have enough time, or we can give as a homework, yeah. Then about reading principles, we should encourage students to read as often and as much as possible in order to improve their language levels. Students need to be engaged by what they are reading. Yeah, it should be related to their interests and to their levels. And we should encourage students to respond to the content of a text and explore their feelings about it, not just concentrate on its construction. Yeah. Then prediction is a major factor in reading. Then matching the tasks to the topic when using intensive reading texts. Then good teacher exploit reading text to the full. Yeah. So reading sequences. So for example, like we should be specific and careful about instructions, yeah, in reading. Let's analyze 3 different examples here and about their sequences, yeah. So firstly, we have activity about reading, which is called sunscreen, which is designed for for pre-intermediate level students, pre-intermediate, okay. So here, for example, students first look at the picture of people. We have a sunbathing and say whether it is a positive, safe, and attractive image, for example. Yeah, we can start from introduction, yeah, for just for making them to think, like what are they going to read about. Yeah, then they might discuss how people should protect themselves from the sun. Yeah, the teacher then asks the students to read the text and identify where they think it comes from. They should do this fairly quickly. Yeah, then when the class has agreed that the text is from a magazine for teenage girls, yeah, this is obvious because of the format. Photos combined with short text, and also because of the language. And let's face it, Georgia Skies, yeah, which is a bit not in babes, for example, is a bit informal, yeah, which is used in the public style, yeah. Then the teacher asks them to read it again and put skin, hair, and eye color in order of least vulnerable to the sun to most vulnerable. They can do this individually or in pairs, yeah. Then the class can now study some of the language in the text, including SPF, physical descriptions, freckles, for example, dark skinned, and the teenage language mentioned above, yeah. Then that's it. Yeah. Then it depends on you. You can differentiate the instructions. Yeah, for example, students can also write descriptions of themselves for the same page in the magazine. Yeah, they can decide which of the 4 people they would most like to meet and why. For example, yeah, they can role play an interview with these characters in the article, or they can prepare a short talk on how people should protect themselves against the sun, depending on skin type, or they can even create a short video and upload to Instagram, for example, yeah. And it's also what a realia material, yeah, from magazines. Many magazines have articles like this which we can bring into class. However, we will need to make sure that the language is not too complex for our students' levels, and we'll need to think carefully about the kinds of tasks we ask students to do with them, yeah. So another example, campaigns, which is what designed for intermediate level students, yeah. So the following reading sequence is designed for teenage students, yeah. After doing comprehension work on the reading text, students are involved in a role play which follows on from the reading they have done, yeah. The sequence starts from when students are asked to look quickly at the reading text and say where they think it comes from and what at first glance they think it's likely to be about. They may do this in pairs or in response to the teacher's prompting. This first glance should be both engage students and also allow them to start predicting what they are going to read. The teacher listens to their predictions but doesn't confirm or deny them at this stage, at the beginning stage, yeah. And then students are now asked to read the text fairly quickly in order to answer the following questions. For example, what is the important news? Why did the council change its mind? Yeah. So after, they can discuss the answers to these questions in pairs before the teacher solicits answers from the whole class. Yeah. Then now the teacher can ask students for their reactions to the story before getting them to do some study work. First of all, they are asked to match words from the text and meanings. Okay. Then when they have worked throughout this exercise successfully, so now they are confident about their vocabulary knowledge. Yeah. Students are asked to read the text in detail again in order to correct sentences such as most young people aren't interested in the youth censure. Johnny and the campaign alone. So finally, students are involved in an activation role play. They are told to work in groups of 5 in order to have a radio discussion. They are told that the council wants to close their school and open a new shopping center. One student in each group is the radio presenter to represent the council and to represent the school. Each student is given a role card. For example, the presenter is told, prepare your ideas with presenters from other groups and plan what to say, how to control the discussion. Maybe they should prepare some more questions if they will finish their discussion quickly. Yeah? They should plan their ideas. The school representatives are told to think about why they want to keep the school open. Yeah. So the groups now have their radio discussion. While they are doing this, the teacher can go around helping out with any difficulties. The groups can then report back on what they discussed. Yeah. Okay, that's it. Then the last example is about webcast intermediate. This is designed to intermediate to advanced level students. So the previous activity asked students to read the text from a book that pretend that to be a snapshot of a web page. However, a lot of reading activities can use the internet itself, yeah, where both teachers and students have easy access to it. One type of activity using the internet is a webcast, yeah, quest. In the web quest, students visit various websites predetermined by the teacher in order to save time, because it might take a really long period of time, yeah, to search through internet, yeah. So, and the quest is, as its name suggests, a search for information. According to Gavin Dudney and Nikki Hockley, web quests normally have 4 basic stages. Introduction stage, where the theme of the webcast is presented with appropriate background information. Then the task section, in which the task is explained and students are engaged with it. Then the process stage, in which students are given web links to click on to get the information they need. And the last one, the evaluation stage, where students and teachers evaluate what they've learned and perhaps do some study work on language they've encountered and used during the quest. It can be seen, therefore, that much of the web quest procedure is concerned with activation. However, both at the introduction stage and the evaluation stage, there may be many opportunities for language study. Okay. So, for example, in this web quest sequence about UFO, unidentified flying objects designed by Joan Miller, the process stage includes not only the quest itself, but also a role-play discussion based on what students have found. So the students are first given the introduction into the quest here. Then when they are clear about information, they are told that the quest is to find out first if UFOs really exist, whether people have really been abducted by extraterrestrials, and whether there is a life on other planets. So a lot of things can be done with this kind of activities. Okay, I'll not be explaining in details. And another activity which will be really useful for you is a jigsaw reading. So for example, you can mix up the paragraphs and give to different students. They can then decide about the sequence of the story, just in briefly. Then reading puzzles, for example, here there are many kinds of puzzle which involve students in motivating reading tasks. For example, we can give them texts which have been chopped up so that each paragraph is on a different piece of paper. Students have to reassemble the text, and it can be in the kind of a form of a picture, and it can, we can also give them series of emails, so they will find the sequence. Then using newspapers, they can be used in different purposes. Matching some articles with the headlines with the relevant pictures. Then they can think about the writer's appearance, the biography. Then following instructions, students read instructions for a simple operation using a public phone box, for example, and have to put the instructions in the correct order. They might also match instructions about, for example, unpacking a printer or inserting a new ink cartridge with a little pictures that normally accompany such instructions in manuals. Then poetry. So in group, students are each given a line from a poem. They can't show the line to the other members of the group. So they can read it out loud. They have to reassemble the poem by putting the lines in order. Okay, again related to jigsaw reading. Then play extracts. Students read an extract from a play or film and ensuring that they understand it and analyzing its construction. They have to work on acting it out. This means thinking about how lines are said, concentrating on stress, intonation, speed, etc. We can use many different text genres for this kind of activity, since reading aloud, a speaking skill, is only successful when students have really studied the text, worked out what it means, and thought about how to make sense of it when it is spoken. Then predicting from words and pictures. For example, students can be given a number of words from a text. Working in groups, they have to predict what kind of a text they are going to read, or what story the text tells, for example. Then they read the text and they will check if the original predictions were correct. We don't have to give them individual words. Of course, we can give them full phrases we can show to everyone. Then, by the way, before proceeding to another techniques, so we can also teach based on the students' needs. For example, if they're preparing to IELTS examinations or to different examinations, we can teach specific skills like how to answer to multiple choice question, true false question, filling in the gaps, then using with working with missing sentences, then matching paragraphs to their headings, for example, yeah, then so on, etc. Then encouraging students to read extensively. We can sometimes organize our workshops in libraries, yeah. Then we should give them choice, and we should also give them a feedback based on that book, and also the time should be appropriate. The enough like what enough time should be given, yeah, for them to work with that reading text, yeah. Then discussion questions, please. Could you please discuss these questions? What roles does reading play in first and second language development? Then another one, what are some of the differences between good readers and poor readers? What can you do to help the latter improve their reading ability? Please think about these questions, okay? We'll discuss it on Monday. That's it for this lecture.